Welcome to the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise podcast with global sales trainer and professional speaker, Lois Kofi. Each week, it is her goal to share inspiration and education for you to be, do, have the best health and wealth and wisdom for your life.
Well, all right. Happy Friday to those of you who are tuning in live. As you guys know, every Friday we have a live show. And actually, funny story, guys. Today's guest was supposed to be on in December. And for whatever reason, it wasn't meant to be. I had major technology issues. So this is a reschedule. I'm super excited to have Sarah Elkins with us today. I just want to go through my quick announcements as a reminder. If you're hearing this on the recording, make sure you're inside the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community. We'd love to have you here. It's a positive, like-minded, supportive community of people who are go-givers. They want to have their best health, their best wealth, their best wisdom, and be surrounded by people who want the same. And if you hear this on the replay, you can comment below #replay. And of course, if you're on live, hit #live. And then if you see value at any time during this show, and same thing for you, Sarah, later, please hit the share button with your community, because we're always looking to inspire, educate, and equip people out there. And man, I don't know about you guys, but I felt January. I know I had the Omicron thing going on this month. You can probably still hear it a little bit in my sinuses. I didn't want to say a whole lot about it because I was like, "Ugh, I don't want to put that energy out there." But I will say I'm happy to be on the other side of it and excited to have you here today, Sarah. So I'll go ahead and introduce you. Sarah is a storyteller, and I'm going to share a story about that in a little bit. A communication coach, author, Gallup certified StrengthsFinder coach. I've only had one other StrengthsFinder coach in almost 200 episodes, so this is great to have you here today. And I remember Sarah was introduced to me by the Frank, again, our friend from the East Coast. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you got to have Sarah on your show." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I take Frank's words very seriously, his introductions. He's an amazing networker, right? And so he connected us. And I still remember the phone call that we had, Sarah. Instead of like maybe a 10-minute conversation, we had like a 45-minute conversation talking about our journeys moving cross country, being a parent, being a business owner, entrepreneur, all of the things, wearing all of the hats. And I really felt connected at the heart. And so that tells me that you are the real deal, Sarah. And I just want to acknowledge you for being amazing. And I'm super excited to have you on our show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I felt that same connection. We had so much in common within seconds, and yet completely different lives lived. So
That's awesome. I'd love for you to share more about your journey. How did you become all the things? And of course, wanted to give a shout out to my brother from another mother, Sean Waite, tuning in from a much warmer climate than usual in Panama City Beach, Florida. Again, anybody joining us, don't forget to comment below #live or #replay. So how did you become all of these amazing things? And tell us a little bit more about your journey.
well, it wasn't until just a few years ago that I became a certified strengths coach. And one of the things that came up on my strengths results was adaptability and activator. And all of the years, like I could look back on so many patterns that could be uncovered simply with those two words. And I just get bored really easily. So anyone with adaptability in their top talents generally is a 2 to 3 year employee. And if I had only known that as a young adult, it would have made my life a lot different, I think. But anyway, so that's the story of how I end up jumping from one thing to the next, is that I get bored really easily and I learn quickly and I get excited and I get really enthusiastic about something. And then I hit a point where I'm like ready for the next thing. And that may resonate with a lot of your listeners. And if that's you, that's a beautiful thing, because having adaptability in your top talents, at least for the last 2 years, has made a huge difference for the community that you serve. Because people with adaptability are the ones that are in demand right now more than ever, because we're modeling what it looks like to deal with uncertainty with grace. People with adaptability are the ones that you're going to look at to say, how is she handling all this uncertainty? because I know that that person is going to handle it. So I'm going to look to her to what happens next. So
Wow.
it's been especially important for people with adaptability and the top talents to know that. At the same time, there's always for better or for worse, right? Sean, I totally hear you. But for better or for worse, that adaptability has been on overdrive, which means that we probably aren't feeding our other strengths right now because we're so busy being adaptable.
Wow. I didn't want to interrupt you. I have a joke. This is me just being self-deprecating. I've had 2 jobs in my career, actually technically 3, but 2 of them that I lasted 7 months. So what does that say about me?
You probably have adaptability, or maybe you have belief or responsibility, which means that you can't work under certain circumstances that don't fit your moral or ethical values. So
I
I
love it.
left a job because the leader of the organization was so unethical. I was getting paid well. I was in a really good spot. I liked what I was doing. But the way that behavior was insipid in the team, I couldn't tolerate it. So I left.
Mm. You said something that I don't know if you can speak to, because there's so many people, even if they don't know if they have adaptability,
Mhm.
or if they don't, like I shared with you, my top 5 before, adaptability wasn't in the 5, maybe it was in the 10. I haven't taken the Gallup test in a really long time,
Mhm.
but if they don't have it, how do they, I love the words you said, I'm going to repeat them, deal with uncertainty with grace?
Oh my gosh. Isn't that the question of the last 2 years? Well, first of all, what I love about StrengthsFinder is the idea that you understand your blind spots innately. You understand what you need to feed in order to feel satisfied in your life. So I know if I'm starting to feel comfortable, like in a way that feels almost complacent to me, where other people might feel that contentedness as a good thing, when I start to feel that contentedness, I know I'm going to end up sabotaging myself because I need to feed my adaptability. So if you have the opposite talents, like consistency in your talents, I want you in my circle
Mm,
because what I love about knowing other people's strengths is that I know how we can serve each other, how we can complement each other. I don't expect myself to ever be good at consistency. That's not in my top talents. It's way down in the bottom. So I hire people or I surround myself with mentors and assistant. I just hired a wonderful assistant to keep me accountable and keep me consistent.
mm,
So when you're dealing with uncertainty, making sure that you have what I call a personal board of directors with
mhm,
you that you trust, that have complementary talents and complementary um, ways of thinking. Obviously, not the same. You want that diverse thought in your
mm,
inner circle, but
mm,
complementary. So I'll give an example. Because my adaptability has been on overdrive, I haven't really been feeding my strategic very well.
mm.
And strategic is my number one strength. So I have to have somebody with consistency in my circle to remind me, oh, Sarah, you got to turn up the dial on your strategic here. You're
Hmm.
spinning your wheels because you're switching gears super quickly and probably before you should.
Right
Does
on.
that kind of answer your question?
It does. The tricky part is, I think that most people might be asking, because I'm thinking it, there's the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And
Hmm.
I have built a Facebook group, podcast community, and a lot of times we attract people who are just like us. And yet what you
Hmm.
said is diversity, complementary, and you're speaking to your team, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about your ideal
Oh
target
no,
market,
I'm
although
talking about full life.
all of it. Okay.
Hmm.
So how do we find those people other than obviously talking to you? How do we find those people with those complementary strengths that can help fulfill and make us more well-rounded?
Well, one of the things that I love to do as a storyteller and as a storytelling coach is I ask a lot of questions, but one key question I like to ask people is to tell me about an accomplishment or a satisfying moment in their lives. So I don't ask people what they do first thing. That is never the first question I'm going to ask somebody. I'm going to ask them about what did you recently read that resonated with you? Whether it was an article online or a book, or what were you listening to? I'm listening to Atomic Habits right now, which is really an interesting concept for somebody with adaptability and no consistency. It's great, by the way.
It's a good book.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I've read.
It's helping me
recommend
coach
it.
people. It's helping me in my coaching. So whatever, I'll ask a question like that, and their answer tells you so much about how they think. So as an example, I asked, I have a coaching client that she's about to get offered her dream job. She's so excited. When I asked her, tell me about something that really was satisfying to you, that you felt like an accomplishment, she told me this story about how she hadn't heard from her mom. She lives in Texas and her mom lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She hadn't heard from her in a few days. She was really worried. So she ended up actually calling the person's mother, so her grandmother, and saying, hey, can you go check on my mom? I haven't heard from her for a few days. And the grandmother checked on her, and there was something really wrong. Like she was not tracking, she wasn't eating, something was going on in her brain that was not working. And so this young woman, my coaching client, flew to Albuquerque, went in to see her mom, realized something was wrong, took her to the hospital, and then she had to figure out all of the power of attorney issues from there in that moment. She had her mom sign the power of attorney documents, which she downloaded. She did all this quick research. This woman put it all together and managed to take care of her mother over the course of this week and get her into assisted care, diagnosed, dealing with the power of attorney, emptied her apartment and put everything in storage so she wouldn't be paying rent. I mean, that was her accomplishment. And I thought, oh my gosh, this woman, first of all, she has achiever in her top talents, guaranteed, and responsibility, right? Achiever and responsibility. These are the talents that I want in my inner circle. So asking them a question, tell me a story about, always uncovers something about how they're motivated, their natural talents, things that they would do that you wouldn't even think about how to do that. You wouldn't even know where to get started.
That's so powerful. I love that. Yeah. And I know we've talked about this privately, but you have to almost really know yourself before you can help others. I've heard someone say, work harder on yourself than you do your business. And a lot of that inner work, though, Sarah, isn't fun. Like, why is it not fun? And I want to, let me just take a step back and remind you guys who are tuning in live, if you have questions, this is the best time, like over the next 10 minutes, to ask those questions, because I want to be able to answer them. Otherwise, I get to be selfish and have Sarah all to myself. So please hit the share button and, of course, ask your questions. But I think I've been on this journey ever since I met you. I think I shared with you, I've been going in and understanding, how can I, not that I've attracted any bad ones, okay? I'm just disclaimer, but how can I attract, higher, paying clients? How can I attract even a spiritual mentor? I've been working on that, finding a new coach, all of these things, because I know we are all mirrors of each other, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. And if you start looking around, you start realizing that person's teaching that aspect of myself. My spouse, that's a scary one sometimes, is mirroring back something about me that I don't like. So therefore, I'm going to go and be judgy towards him, realizing, oh, wait, that's my stuff that's coming up right now, So really going in and getting clarity, because I know you have a program. We're going to talk about that later. Why is it so hard to learn about yourself and to accept and love yourself for who you are?
I love that question. I love that question so much. It's hard because we want to see ourselves a certain way. And when something is reflected back to us that is negative about ourselves, it hurts. It's painful. And some people choose to not go there. They would just rather go into this denial that, oh, this is how people know me and this is fine. And I'll give you an example. I had a coaching client that came to me for coaching, like StrengthsFinder coaching, figuring out what his blind spots were and what tools he could use to improve those blind spots, what resources were available. But he told me, he said, well, I'm kind of an asshole. And I was like, wait, what? And he said, well, yeah, that's I'm kind of an asshole. I said, in what way? He said, well, I just tell it like it is. I'm really direct. And
Mm.
some people just take it wrong. And I'm like, well, which people? He said, well, lots of people. And I said, okay, how's that going for you? He said, well, I don't really care what people think. And I said, okay, but you reached out to me for help with this as a communication coach.
Mm.
So I'm curious, if you don't care, then how do you expect to influence? You can't influence people if you don't care what they think of you.
Wow.
So I asked him how his relationships were. And he said, well, they're okay. I said, which relationships? And I said, well, do you have a partner? He's like, no. I said, did you in the past? He said, yeah. I said, would you like one in the future? He said, yeah, I wouldn't turn that down. And I said, well, you're going to have to deal with this whole being an asshole thing then,
Mm.
because you can change, but you have to choose it. You have to look in the mirror and see your patterns and figure out where you're getting in your own way.
Mm.
Now, he can still be himself, his authentic self. He's just going to have to adjust how he presents that authentic self
Well,
externally.
and even I would say, and you're the expert, not me, but even his own perception of himself, like him saying that he's an asshole. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of like good cop, bad cop. It's just maybe
Mhm.
if that's what he says and throws around, then it comes across maybe not so loving and not so graceful. He could probably reframe that a little bit. Do you think that would be a good
Oh,
idea?
absolutely. And in our work together, he did. I mean, we really talked about it. And I'll give you another example about those labels that we give ourselves. We're not necessarily giving them to ourselves in our younger years, but we hold on to them later, even if the evidence shows that we're not that way. So, for instance, I was called bossy and impulsive. I always considered myself impulsive. And the reality is, now that I know my strengths, and I've been working on this self-reflection piece, which is the key to having better relationships. You
Hmm.
have to self-reflect if you want to improve your relationships. You have to know where you're getting in your own way, right?
Yeah, well,
And
business is all about relationships, right? So it's starts with the relationship with
mhm,
yourself, right?
absolutely. So you have to self-reflect. You have to see where your patterns are. And it wasn't until I took StrengthsFinder and I worked with my first coach, and she said, "So how do you describe yourself?" I said, "Well, I'm a little impulsive." And she said, "Well, you have activator in your top talents and adaptability." She said, "But you lead with
Mm.
strategic. So I want you to rethink this whole impulsive thing. The next time you're doing something that you consider impulsive, or that somebody externally says, oh, that's impulsive, think about what went into your decision to take that step."
Mm.
And it wasn't until she told me that, and it took me months to uncover this, that it's because my brain works so fast to get from point A to point B. I know immediately the fastest, most direct route to get from point A to point B without even thinking about it. Pops into my head.
Mm.
So it's not impulsive. I've
Mm.
actually thought about it. I'm just very fast at it. Where I get in my way is that I'm not particularly deliberative. So I don't necessarily think about what obstacles I might hit on the way.
Yeah,
And that's
learning.
where, exactly. So that's where I have a great partner. My husband is deliberative.
Mm.
So if I'm about to step foot into something and I'm like in that hesitation mode, like I don't hesitate much, but if I do, I know it's important. And I go to my husband, well, what obstacles do you think I'm going to hit?
Mm.
And it's not about asking for permission. It's about knowing what I'm going to hit ahead of time so I have some preparation.
I love that. Well, and I think all of us could be more deliberate, or I would say intentional, um, in our relationships with ourselves and others. And time is flying by, Sarah. So I don't want to. I want to give enough time to this new course you have. I just love the title, "Discovering Clarity One Bite at a Time."
Mhm.
So can you share a little bit more about what that's all about?
Sure, yes. People are in major transformation and transition right now. And we always are in one way or another. But in the last 2 years, people are starting to realize that they're dissatisfied. And I like to use an analogy of being hungry. So this discovering clarity one bite at a time. I imagine that people are really hungry right now, and they're just realizing that they're hungry. It's been going on for a while. They've been feeding everyone but themselves. And suddenly they realize there's this underlying level of dissatisfaction that's starting to grow. And so many of us dismiss it because we think, well, we have a good life, we have a good job, we have these people in our lives, these kids, whatever. So I shouldn't be dissatisfied. But as long as that's bubbling up underneath there, eventually it's going to blow. So when you're really, really hungry and you're finally realizing you're hungry, you're wandering around and you find this restaurant and this wonderful scent of food is coming from the restaurant. So you walk in super excited, ready to eat, and the menu is a mile long. And you're so overwhelmed because there's so many opportunities out there right now. We don't even know what jobs are going to exist in the next 5 years, much less 5 minutes, right? So you're so hungry. You go and you look at this mile-long menu and you walk out still hungry because of that overwhelm. So this course, it's a 5-part course to guide people toward, before you even look at the menu, start looking at what is already satisfying, the things in your life that you can hold on to. Figure out kind of what you're hungry for a little bit. Am I hungry for something salty or something sweet? Is it something that's going to fill me up, or do I just need a snack? Trying to identify what that hunger is before you walk in and look at the menu. Because then when you look at the menu, you can kind of figure out what area of the menu to look at, what ingredients. I'm in the mood for something salty, so maybe it's French fries, maybe it's miso soup, whatever it is. If you have this idea, then when you look at the menu, you can pare it down to something that's manageable. So the course takes you through I call it a 5-course meal. And by the end, you have this understanding that, first of all, clarity isn't a one-time thing. Clarity is something that you have to come back to over and over again to keep that satisfaction at a level where it's not doing you damage and eating you up inside. So yeah, Sean is adding these great comments. Have you seen these?
I was just gonna say I was thinking of a thought, but I didn't want to interrupt your flow.
Yeah.
Oh
Go
yeah.
ahead.
I think people are almost starving and just realizing it. They just keep ignoring the stomach rumbles. I would actually also, what you said that made me go back and reflect on my own journey is trusting your intuition. So many people are looking from the left to the right. What is that person ordering over there? Maybe I'll just do that, and not listening to their own hunger, which I would call intuition. And does that resonate with you? Do you have any other thoughts? Do you talk about that?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I don't necessarily add anything about stop comparing yourself, but I do say stop shoulding on yourself. So I should be satisfied. And one of my coaching clients is taking the course and we're doing coaching alongside it, which has been a great way to do it. And he said, it's not just that I'm shoulding on myself. It's that I look at these things and think, well, I could do this, or I could do that. And I'm good at things, so I can figure it out. But is it what I really want? Is it going to nourish me? Is it going to feed my natural talents?
Yeah. And that is the key. And then unfortunately, for better, for worse, it's kind of like going back to your restaurant analogy. Maybe you try something new, right? For the first time on the menu. And then you're like, not so enjoyable. Don't think I'm going to get that again. And it's like, I teach on, lead generation and sales mastery. A lot of times people they'll go in like a restaurant and they'll choose, I'm going to do a lead generation strategy on LinkedIn or Facebook, or I'm going to do a webinar. And then they're like, oh man, it went so bad. I suck, and they start beating themselves with the whip and focusing, kind of like going to the restaurant and ordering something you don't like. You're like, oh, I just wasted money. Do you have a way to reframe that inside of your program?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a short program, so there's only so much that we can cover in it. But I do talk about, or there are exercises to help you understand that when you when you pick something and you nibble at it, you decide it's not really what you want, you can go back and order something else. And there's no such thing as a waste of time or energy when it comes to exploring new things. And maybe you'll spend a little more money on it. Maybe whatever that is, it's worth it because every experience is an opportunity to grow and learn. And I believe so strongly that it's so much more important to have a deal breaker list than a laundry list of what you want. These are the things I absolutely will not tolerate. And then that opens your world to so many more opportunities than having a laundry list of wants.
Oops. Hold on, guys. I don't know if it's me or there you go. You froze for a second. You're back. Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know if it was me or you, but that was weird. But hopefully you heard it's easy. It's better to have a list of what you don't want, your deal breakers, than to have a list of what you absolutely must have, because it limits you when you start having this laundry list. You think about partners. Well, he has to be this, he has to be that, he has to have this, he has to have that. Then you completely limit your pool of opportunities. And you see employers do that every day when they're trying to do this laundry list of a job description. Like you're missing out on incredible candidates because you have these very specific needs as opposed to deal breakers.
That's awesome. Well, I know they can get a special deal. Can you tell them about your course, like any specifics, the price, and then we'll talk about the promo coupon code. She's giving us a smoking deal as a part of the Healthy and Wealthy and Wise community.
Yes, and I'm so excited to offer this to this particular community. I've been watching, I have to admit, I've been more of a stalker on that page than an active participant on it. But I've seen so many great comments and discussions going on over there. So I'm excited to offer this to this particular community. It's normally $149 for this five-part course or 5-course menu, as I like to put it. And the 50 Ko-fi is the discount code for $50 off. So it ends up costing you $99. And but it's not just the course. Every section has an accountability exercise to keep you interested and keep you thinking. And it includes a poster that is shipped to you with sticky notes so that you can reuse this clarity poster. It's a 24 by 18 poster in full color. So you can put it up and really see what you're doing in creating your own menu and creating the choices that you can make from now on into the future.
Awesome. And I'm just putting it in the chat, you guys. I'll put that also in the show notes if you're tuning in later. I do have just one more question for you, Sarah. Just want to go over some really quick announcements for my community for upcoming events and exciting things that are happening. There's a lot of things that I am really pouring rocket fuel and giving back to you guys as part of my community. Number one, high sales performance class or high performance sales. Masterclass. That's a bit of a tongue twister. Next Thursday, I have not taught that class with the Jenny Harkleroad, subconscious mind coach extraordinaire, who helped me go from zero to hero in my mindset at the beginning of the pandemic. Literally, I was freaking out. I wasn't making any money on a monthly basis. And she helped me at that time with clarity, since we were talking about that. And so we haven't done this class since July of 2020, you guys. So this is our first time since then, and it's going to be our last time. Maybe the only time we do this class all year. It's free, 90 minutes. We have free gifts and goodies for you guys if you sign up before next Thursday, February 3rd. So go to this link right now, not now, but right now, and go to balancedyou.org/performance and sign up for that. I also want to make a quick announcement. Besides that masterclass, another thing I'm doing free for the month of February is my membership. My membership program is 3 live hours a month with me, plus a referral speed networking group. I'm going to teach you how to turn leads that you get from referrals and networking Zooms into sales. So I'm doubling the time that I used to offer for that program, and I'm giving it away for free for 30 days. So if you go to loiscovey.com/membership, I'll put that in the show notes because unfortunately I don't have a banner to put on the screen right now, but loiscovey.com/membership. And then in March, the price is $197 a month, every month thereafter. But I'm really building this to be a huge community, hundreds of modules of training inside of my member vault, plus actually it's almost 5 hours of access to me live. So it's about a $2,000 value. So you don't want to miss out on that because it's the only time I'm going to allow it to be free for a 30-day trial. So go check that out. So last but not least, I always ask a closing question of all my guests. So if you've been stalking me well, you probably already know the question, Sarah. But when you hear the phrase healthy and wealthy and wise, which is the name of my podcast, and community, what does that mean for you?
It means identifying what you consider success and being able to make choices based on how you define success and reassessing that regularly. Because what I thought of as success 10 or 15 years ago is very different from what I would consider success now.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can so relate to that. That is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, for giving an amazing value. And I hope you guys take advantage of her course. It's also a one-time deadline driven deal. I think her promo code, did you want to share or did you? I don't think you shared
it's
when that.
50 Kofi, so 50 KOFFI, and it expires on February 14th. So if you want to buy this for your partner as a gift, I would highly recommend it. And even better, take a few friends along for this. It's so much better if you have a group, an accountability group, 3 friends doing this together so that you have discussion points and being able to have a conversation around what you're learning about yourself and what you're going for. When people know what you're looking for, they're a lot more likely and able to help you find it.
Yeah, I was going to say it might even not be bad for partners, but also business owners with their clients. So that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much again, guys. If you saw value in today's show, hit the share button with your community. And if you're not already inside of this Facebook community where Sarah and all of my guests are, what are you waiting for? Jump in. The water is warm, as I like to say. Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community. And if you loved the show, please write a review, share it with other people as always, and come back next week. Our guest next week, I'm super excited. I was just on her podcast, Audrey Bell Kearney. She's an expert in podcasting and speaking events. So if you want to be a better podcaster, speaker, and build your community through that, like I have, please show up. Audrey and I are going to have a blast next Friday, February 4th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, same channel. See you then, guys. And until next time, here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at lois@loiscovey.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.